Hi there. With great pleasure, today I have Professor David Vallat from the Political Science Institute of Lyon sitting next to me, coming to the Podium studio. Professor Vallat, how are you?
Fine, thank you. And you?
Wonderful, thank you. Now, Professor Vallat is an active researcher in the area of knowledge and innovation. What a great two topics together. My first question to him is, knowledge and innovation, how do you relate these two terms?
In order to answer your question, first I have to ask another question. The big question for me is how to adapt to a more volatile, complex, ambiguous, competitive world. And I think it's obvious to say that it's impossible to adapt with old technologies, old way of thinking, old way of organizing the workforce. We have to be innovative to adapt. So for me, innovation is the last step of the process of adapting to a new world. But to start the process of adaptation, we need to develop knowledge. We need to ask questions. We need to think about new ways of defining problems. So, for example, in defining problems, one question might be, why my customers buy less and less product? Is that the right question? The right question is, do I really know my customers? So we need to ask questions. We need to make decisions in a certain world. We need to develop kind of strategy mindset. And for all that, we need to develop knowledge. We need to produce actionable knowledge. So the first step of adapting to a volatile, a complex, a competitive world is producing knowledge, and the last step is innovating.
Right. Well, it does sound like that. The origin of knowledge, the generation of knowledge, is pivotal to generating or sparking innovations. Can you enlighten us a bit more about why this is the case?
The question, I think, is about what a right knowledge management policy might be. And I think a right knowledge management have to rely upon people, much more upon people than upon technologies. So knowledge management can stimulate creativity and innovation if every people in organization, every employee in the organization are knowledge creator, producer, and knowledge broker. In doing so, you have an organization which knows a lot of things, which knows customers, which knows the problem on the shop floor, which knows engineers' problem, and so on. So with people producing knowledge, all people producing knowledge in an organization, you have a very innovative organization.
Understood. Now, understand that Professor Vallat's specialty is working in the area of healthcare with many healthcare organizations. So I would love to hear a case study of whereby healthcare organizations with good knowledge leverage mechanisms, can be very innovative. Can you cite a case for us, please?
Yes, it's not really in healthcare sector, but it's very closely related to healthcare sector. It's about a pharmaceutical company in Japan. Name is Eisai. Eisai is well known because it has been a kind of research field for Professor Ikushino Nonaka's work on knowledge creation theory for 20 years. And I've been introduced to Eisai by the Knowledge Management Society of Japan, and I've done a lot of fieldwork on this organization, and I've learned a lot of things. One thing is Eisai expects his employee to spend 2 to 3 days each year on the field, meeting patient families, visiting healthcare organizations, in order to understand what are the patient needs, what are the patient feelings, how people are doing with the drugs. what are the problems with the drugs and so on. So each member of the company is like a probe who is gathering a lot of information, of data, of knowledge, and brings back the knowledge to the organization, to the company. And with that, you can implement this knowledge in technologies. You can implement also this knowledge in organizational innovation.
Wow, it's really fascinating when such efforts can be multiplied, and there's a lot more opportunities for organization to pursue. As a final question, this is a tough one. Everybody wants to know is how can we nurture an innovative culture in knowledge leverage organizations? Everyone wants to know, how can we do it? What's your recommendation?
I think the starting point is to underline the fact that every people on the organization needs to work together to a common goal, and the common goal is to adapt to a very changing world. And to do so, all the people, we need to learn to collaborate. We need to learn to experiment things without the fear of doing wrong. It's very important to experiment. And I think a culture of collaborative experimentation is a key point. And it's a real challenge to universities to develop this kind of culture in the mind of students. And we have in universities, we have to innovate in our educational process in order to help people bring back in organization a kind of innovative mindset.
There you go, dare to be different, try to be adventurous, and not fearing of failure. Collaborate seems to hold the key to success. Thank you, Dr. Vallat.
Thank you, Professor.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.